All right, everybody. I've got 6:30. We're going to call the regular meeting of the Common Council to order. We're going to start with roll call, please.
Steve,
Here.
Seth,
Here.
Andrew,
Here.
Ted Gerking,
Here.
Emma,
Here.
Todd Spade,
Here.
Cindy,
Here.
John,
Here.
Crystal,
Here.
Justin.
Here. All right. We'll Pledge of Allegiance, please. All right. Item number 2 is approval of the September 9th, 2025 regular council minutes.
This is Crystal. I'd move approval without any additions or corrections.
We've got a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item number 3, council announcements. Any member of the council have anything?
I think it's Justin's birthday today is the only announcement I have.
So your birthday? Today?
It is.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Should we sing?
Well, I don't see any reason to do that.
Just these microphones are
Thank God.
amplified. That'd be a bad idea.
Anything that's much more important.
Yeah,
certainly.
well, not any more important, but the council bash is on
Chamber bash.
council bash. Well, it'll be a council bash if enough of us show up. Chamber bash is on Thursday this week. It really crept up on me. 5:00 over at the Pagetti Party Barn. As part of our contribution to them, they have given us 4 free tickets to the event, and it would be a great opportunity to go and hobnob with the local business community and show the support. As of right now, I have 2 different people who asked for 3 tickets. Is there anybody else? I just sent out the email today. Is there anybody else who's interested in attending? Thursday at 5.
Am I one of that?
Yes.
Accounted for? Okay.
You are 2 of them. In case you want seconds. Anybody else?
I have a lot of things going on Thursday. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. I also have tickets offered from another business in town that I
Oh,
work
okay.
for. So
Okay. Okay.
give them.
Well, again, it's if you need to go home and check with your significant other, check your schedule, whatever, get back to me tomorrow morning. We can still probably find a ticket for you, it sounds like. But I think we should have a good enough showing to fill the seats at this point. So thank you.
Good. Thank you. Anything else?
Oh, comp plan. Materials are out to everybody. They're really, per my request, coming at everybody to get their input on those at this stage in the game. So if you haven't carved out time to look at those emails and sort of provide feedback, please do so. And if you have any questions, by all means, reach out to me.
Is there a timeline that they want feedback by?
Yes.
The 17th.
17.
Good.
Yep.
Can I just use the announcement time to thank Chief Rick for being at the Harvest Parade, making sure
Mhm.
everybody safely got down Main Street. It's a Saturday. It's the middle of the day. It was a special occasion. It was just really nice to see you out there. And I know that you're working extra for that. So thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. Item number 4 is the first period for public comment. Any members of the public that have anything they'd like to speak to, now would be the time.
We have quite a few folks online. If anybody online would like to make a public comment, they can unmute and do so at this time.
All right. Here. Yep. Hearing none, we're going to move to item number 5, which is operator license approvals.
Okay, there's just one for Melody Russell at Walmart, already passed the background check and been approved at Public Safety. So just needing a motion to approve that.
This is Todd. I make a motion to approve the operator license that you talked about.
Todd, I'll second it.
All right. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item number 5, review and approval of resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of up to $493,653 for the sewage system revenue bonds Series 2025, and providing for other details and covenants with respect thereto, and approval of related financial assistance grant agreement. Well, words.
Is sewerage system really a word? Sewerage?
I know.
Sure, you're more than welcome. You have co-hosting. You can go ahead.
Nate, is sewerage? Is that really a word?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So while Sarah's getting that queued up, both Cheryl and Lori are not here. And those are typically the two clerks who really handle this stuff. And Joy does a wonderful job, but that's more in their wheelhouse with these. But we were working with Quarles and Brady, who are our typical bond counsel for this, and they package all this stuff together. Sarah and Cheryl have been working with the DNR on both these funds for quite some time. It's been quite the process. And I think Sarah's about ready.
Sorry, I'm laughing because I keep clicking on the council packet, but there we go. It wasn't
So
coming.
let Sarah drive because she likes control. Okay, go ahead, Sarah.
Okay, as Nate said, you get the two of us tonight for these agenda items. Okay, so the first one on the agenda is the sewer revenue bond. So this is for Center Avenue. If you remember, Center Avenue is funded with 4 sources. 2 of them are DNR sources. 1 is for water, 1 is for sewer. It would be lovely if they combined the 2, but they don't do it that way. So we're talking about sewer first. So this is our resolution. It goes through all of the bonds that we currently have for the sewer system. So that's why you see all these whereases with these different dates for different bonds. The big thing that we want, besides all these definitions, are obviously the terms of this loan. So this loan is for 400. You saw it earlier. Let me see if I can zoom up a little bit here. It is for 493,653. It's obviously a loan through the state of Wisconsin Clean Water Fund. Our rate is here. We have an interest rate of 1.485%. The reason it looks so good is because part of the allure of the DNR programs is that it's a subsidized interest rate, and it is based on our mean household income and size of community. These bonds go over a 20-year period, and I was just gonna scroll down to page 13, I think it was, or 12, where it talked about, maybe I got that wrong one. So I'll just scroll down a little bit more because I know it is in here somewhere. We get the total amount that we're borrowing is much larger than that, but we ended up getting a 40% subsidized rate, principal forgiveness. And I have that somewhere here. There's just too much in this document. My cheat sheet here. So it is a 40% principal forgiveness. So essentially the original bond, they say they allocate a certain amount for us, and that 40% is $239,102. So it actually, in this handy appendix here, does show where we are at for all of them. Here's our payment schedule that we'll be doing for the next 20 years. And I guess this is another thing to note is that as a part of all of this, that USDA did have to go in parity with the Clean Water Fund loan. That was when we took the loans out for our various sewer projects as well as the wastewater treatment plant. And that's that information. But in this appendix here, where are we? Oh, I know why. Because this is not the document itself that I was looking at earlier. Okay, because now we're in the water section. So I guess the gist of it is what I had mentioned before. We have the resolution, and those are our terms, that 1.48% interest rate. We have our principal of $493,653 and a principal forgiveness amount on top of that of $329,102. As a part of this, we also need to talk about the fact that this is an agreement with the DNR. And so as a part of that, the mayor and Lori will sign what they call an FAA. So this is the wrong one. That is the water one. We want the sewer one. Ah, and there's the number. I was looking for it wrong. Too many documents. Okay. So here is our financial assistance agreement with the DNR. Again, Clean Water Fund. The total loan amount originally was $822,755 with a $329.102 principal forgiveness. So I'm not bond counsel, but that is the short and important information of the above. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you. Questions? If not, I think we need a motion to approve the resolution.
This is Crystal, and I would move the issuance and sale of up to $493,653 in sewage system revenue bonds.
Cindy, I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Seth,
Aye.
Andrew, Todd Kirking,
Aye.
Emma.
Aye.
Todd Spade,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Crystal,
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
All right, we'll move on to item number 7, which is review and approval of resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of up to $1,149,551 water system revenue bonds, Series 25, and providing for other details and covenants with respect thereto, and approval of related financial assistance agreement.
All right. So in essence, same thing, but this one's for water. So under this provision, we do not have any principal forgiveness. So we have a $1.149551 million loan from the DNR under their their safe drinking water program. And again, why we would do this besides just having funding available is that we get that wonderful interest rate of 1.485 over a 20-year loan. And so same deal, it goes again. We have all of our bonds listed here where we are at currently. Talks about our terms of our bonds. It comes from revenues of the utility. That would be important. Obviously, the same thing for the sewer. It's not coming out of general fund. We also needed parity for the USDA for our previous loans. And our financial agreement is pretty much looks exactly the same idea as well. So happy to answer questions, but they're virtually the same or same resolution, but just for a different bond.
Thank you. Questions? We are looking for a motion.
Cindy, I'll make a motion. We approve the resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of up to $1,149,551 water system revenue bonds, Series 2025.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Andrew,
Aye.
Todd Kirking,
Aye.
Emma,
Aye.
Todd Spade,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Crystal,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Seth.
Aye.
All right, moving on to item number 8, review and approval of pay request number 1 for the Center Avenue project.
Okay, so those of you in Public Works would have already seen this. This is pay request 1 for the Center Avenue project. Most of this is stored materials. So essentially, and it's all water stored materials. So they purchased all of the ductile iron water main, and that's why you see up here, it says net change by change orders, but it's not actually a change order. It is stored materials. So number 1 here of that $280,728.69. So some of this is now in the ground, and when they put it in, they, instead of having that unit price for the installation, they'll deduct this amount. So eventually, as we go through the project, this will be zero. Both we are concerned, as well as the DNR, that we make sure that it is still insured by Badger. So if anything happens to the pipe, it is not on us. And you actually can see it because it's stored out at Nelson's lot there. The only other part of this pay request is our mobilization and performance. And payment bonds. So they get put in half here at that 73,287. And then it was just some of the initial removals of asphalt and concrete. I don't know if anybody noticed while they were out there hammering on the street, but there was asphalt and the old concrete road still underneath. So that's always makes things a little tricky. But nothing that our contingency shouldn't be dealing with. So one of the things that we actually are doing this week is exploring for more surprises. We do expect it to be in some spots. And that was it. Installing the water main, a little bit of a water main connection was the only other thing that was in here. So the total payment requested is that current payment due of $351, $372 and 41 cents. We have already submitted this as a second disbursement. So we have disbursement 1 is already submitted under water and sewer loans for the loan closing. And so we submitted this one right away too, because we don't want to have to pay for that stored materials. We want it to come right from the DNR. So any questions?
I think so.
This is Todd. I make a motion to approve pay request number 1 for the Center Avenue project for $351,372.41.
Say I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Todd Kirking.
Aye.
Emma.
Aye.
Todd Spade.
Aye.
Cindy.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Crystal.
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
Seth.
Aye.
Andrew.
Aye.
All right, item number 9, update on city landfill investigation process.
Okay, Mike Amstead is online, so feel free to jump in anytime, Mike. Just let me know which slides you want to show. We thought that it was a good time to bring this back to you again. Make sure everybody is understanding where we're at. We are at a point where the DNR is asking us for a work plan again. So meaning we did our original work plan. We said we're going to do the trench. We did some monitoring. They came back and said, okay, now what? Show us what your next step is. And so that's where we're at right now. So Mike, let me know which screen you'd like.
Well, why don't you put up the picture of, yes, that one there. So basically this picture shows the outside of the property, the church building, the gas probes are on there. Not sure why we got the white box, but
I think it's my computer getting mad at me for having too many slides open. There we go.
there we go. And then the storage buildings. So the area of interest right now are the gas probes 1, 2, and 3 by the church property. We have put in a trench. If you can flip to that one now that your computer is finally gonna like this one.
You want me to show the trench diagram?
Yes.
Sorry, the louder you can speak, the better. For whatever reason, we always have a hard time hearing.
Okay, I'm holding it right up to my face now. So we installed a trench along the fence line, gas vents 1 through 4. We've allowed those to vent. That in and of itself was not enough to reduce the methane at gas probes 1, 2, and 3. We took a small blower, hooked it up to gas vent 3, closed off 1, 2, and 4, and we were able to get a vacuum on the trench and on the vents themselves, but it was not showing much of a connection with gas probes 2, 3, and 1. So then we went and started pulling directly using the same blower. The city folks put together a manifold with some hose, and we pulled on the 3 gas probes there and got I guess good results, mixed results. And then what it's been is basically there are days where all the gas is gone. And there is negative pressure, so there's like a vacuum on the gas probes. And when that happens, there's no gas. And then other days there's positive pressure, which is what happens when gas is being generated. And then obviously there's gas. So there's this back and forth yo-yoing of where it's negative, it's positive. Even when we're not doing anything on the system out there. So right now, that's kind of where we are at. The good news is gas probe 1, if you want to go to the graphs. So gas probe 1 is the closest one to the property line, closest to the church, which is what started all this. That is on this graph, I would say purple or blue, depending on how it's showing up there.
I just messed it up. There we go. Nope, not the one you wanted. Do you remember I moved it over thinking I was getting
Oh,
the other way? Let's see.
is it the red tab? No, that's data.
That one.
Okay, so the blue line is gas probe 1. And you can see so on the left-hand side, it's percent methane. And we're supposed to be basically down around 0. And you can see we are definitely have a downward trend in that gas probe, but we do get some spikes here and there. And that is what we are trying to figure out right now, whether it's a barometric pressure. One idea is something to do with the karst topography and wind. We're looking into what is going on in the environment that is changing conditions that would result in it. Gas probe 2, which is another one along the property line, is still showing high methane. And some days it disappears, where we don't see any methane there. But the next day or later that afternoon, it'll pop back up. So they all have a tendency to have the gas go away when it's low barometric, when it's not barometric pressure, when there's a negative pressure in the probe. So basically some kind of vacuum underground and negative pressure is being generated and then the gas goes away. So it's like being pulled, sucked away. And then it comes back. So there's a ebb and flow to the gas. And we are working to try and figure that out by doing different experiments with where we're pulling vacuum and looking at atmospheric conditions and trying to figure out what is influencing the formation of gas out there. That's kind of what I had. And Sarah, I guess based on the knowledge that we have from the church, there's a ambient air monitor in the church and it's not gone off. So that's the positive.
Right.
So what the DNR has requested is another work plan for our next steps. So with the next item, we will, if that gets approved, we will pull that together, get that to the DNR, and continue to evaluate the situation and hopefully come up with a solution. It's been a challenge, unfortunately. And then the 4 gas probes on the north side of the landfill, they have shown when there's positive pressure over there, then all 4 of them show gas. When it's negative pressure, 4, 5, and 6 typically show very low methane, if any. 7 is kind of problem child that we have over in that area. But we haven't done a lot of digging around on that one. We just check probably every couple weeks, Sarah, since you're doing it. Oh,
Okay, so as mentioned, the DNR wants us to get back to them. They are very interested, like Mike said, in this one that's closest to the church. Obviously, these are both near the property line. We need to continue working on how we're getting the gas levels at this probe. Nonetheless, we need to review our reporting back. And so Mike has been great about letting me do a lot of work. And so I've been doing a lot of the sampling, but in order to put another document together and really probably catch up to where we're at right now, this is the current proposal that they have. So they always just put change orders on top of the original proposal. So this total estimated cost for this next phase, so to speak, is that 22,800. I'll let Mike talk a little bit about that, about what that entails, but just as like a refresher of where we're at. So the original work that we had approved is that 28,600. We had two increase over time. So we did the initial investigation, then we did the engineering work in order to get the trench put in. So there was a work plan and then the engineering work. And so currently with this change order would put us to the total of our engineering work at 100,090.
Sarah, is that, so are we on to the extension
Oh, sorry,
component?
I didn't let you change agenda items.
No, I wasn't
Excuse
sure if
me.
that was still
Yeah.
part of the update or
I was just
not,
moving right
so,
along.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions, I guess, about what we were talking about before?
No?
Because now is a good time with Mike being on the phone
Right.
here.
I guess we'll find out what the next steps are when you guys figure it out.
Right.
I mean, how do you control barometric pressure if that's, or karst geology?
Good question.
the unfortunate simple answer is you put in an active system, and that is truly what I've been trying to avoid. Because it's not the direction we want to be heading. You can always put a big enough vacuum on there that you can pull the gas to a centralized point. But with that comes other problems, as I was saying, Sarah, earlier. You put too big of a vacuum on, then you start pulling oxygen into the waste. It goes aerobic. When it goes aerobic, the bugs that live in aerobic conditions generate heat, which then could result in a landfill fire. So it's very, I don't want to go to an active system. We've been trying to figure out a way to minimize that if at all possible, because I don't think there is a lot of gas. I don't think there's a big volume. It's just the concentration is very high. So it's a kind of a problem that way. Because we can make the gas go away. We just can't keep it from coming back.
So I guess a couple of things. Active system means that there would be like a blower out there pulling on these vents, trying to suck out the methane. But as Mike said, that there is the concern that when you're starting to move air through, that you're gonna start increasing oxygen concentrations in the landfill. Do you have a direction, Mike, about what you think the work plan is going to indicate for the next step? Or are you still working on that?
I guess I'm still working on that, Sarah. I think we're going to summarize what we have done, look at the data in more detail, and then try and come up with a game plan. And part of that game plan may be trying to get to something. So right now, for everybody's information, we've been working, the blower that, the city has provided and the generator that's been basically running on 7, 8 hour kind of workday generator capacity in the fuel tank. It may be, the next step may be something where we look at doing something more 24 hour continuous and see if having a low vacuum and a continuous, running it continuously, if that solves the problem.
Right, because we certainly are using what we've had around, right? We were trying to do it as low budget and what do we already have that we could use. So we've actually been using the confined space entry blower because it's an intrinsically safe blower intended for methane and things like that. But obviously it means that we're setting up a little generator every day and we're doing it within the hours that we're there. And so there's certainly, I would say, a few steps between the full shebang and what we're doing right now. Okay,
Okay.
well.
Any other questions?
questions?
Not? All right. We're good. We'll move on then to item number 10, which is approval for contract extension for landfill investigation.
Okay, Mike. I skipped to this ahead before, but do you want to just go through what the services that are on the change order?
So basically what this will allow us to do is write a revised work plan, update the DNR, get their concurrence on where we're going in the future. Because they have shown concern that we haven't set up. It's all gone. I mean, we'd all like to have it be all gone. So they have requested a new work plan and what our next steps are. And so that'll be part of what this is. It's also, as I said, kind of looking through the data. We've got a lot of data now. It's just a matter of, is there something in the data, some kind of trend that isn't that obvious, but if we do trend lines or we, dissect it different ways, is there something there that's keying when the methane is there and when it is not? So we'll look into that during this time, and it's the city is, Sarah and others have been doing the gas monitoring. I'd like to get out there again and spend a day sniffing around, looking around, messing around, and just try to figure out if there's something that's being missed in what we've been doing. And so just get my feet on the ground. So that's in there. And then just whether you want to call them day-to-day operational calls with Sarah and just keeping in touch with Sarah as far as what she's finding, looking over the data. And we've got it kind of set up for the next couple of months. Will it is everything going to last 2 months? I don't know if it's enough funding for the whole 2 months, but I put whatever it was, 4 hours a week for the next 2 months in there for talking with Sarah and looking at data.
I think that's a great idea to have Mike out here. So it's been nice that I have been able to do it, but I come at him with some wild ideas sometimes. I'm like, this is what I saw today. And it's hard, I think, for him to just sort of take it over the phone. I send him pictures and things like that of how we've set things up, but it's really useful. Even when I had others do some of the testing, and directing them, just being out there really makes it all a lot more, you're able to examine it better, I guess.
And I'll be able to sit there all day long. And kind of just do some investigation, some things that Sarah and the other folks just haven't had necessarily the time opportunity to do. And it's kind of been unfortunate because every time we want to start a new, implement a new idea, that's typically when Sarah calls me and says, I got negative pressure and there's no gas. So we started out our experiment with there being no gas, and instead of starting with gas and saying, hey, that worked, it took the gas away. So it's kind of been it doesn't want to give up its secrets.
Crystal,
I had
has
a question, Mike. Is there any way that the DNR would work with us? It feels like we're kind of just trying things, as best we can, but they must have seen something like this before.
The DNR is they're not giving ideas per se. They're agreeing with the approach that we're taking. What he did last time we talked with Colin from the DNR, he said, what about some other pathways, the sewers or this or that? So they are, you know, to some degree, they have a vested interest in getting this solved as well. But it's not like they're saying you should do this or that. Or, a little bit of, have you tried this? And normally the answer has been yes. So,
Thank you, Mike.
Is there any type of a time crunch with cold weather, frost coming on? Is that something we need to be concerned about? If there needs to be more digging or something like that?
Yeah, it's
the
harder.
yes, if the gas doesn't go away, the DNR is going to want something done. I think that next step, something is going to be more above ground or potentially drilling, which is not really affected by harder ground, maybe snow cover. One thing that may happen is this all came about in April-ish, if I remember. So when the landfill gets cold and the bugs get cold, they may sleep for the winter. And we may be able to delay things until delay because there's no gas issue until April comes around or March comes around next year.
All right. You're just looking for approval to extend this up to
Correct.
that additional 22,000 and some.
Yeah, sorry,
change.
I'll scroll up here. 22,800. I just want to make sure that everybody understood where we were at, that we have been detecting gas. We have a lot of variability. It's not been easy to find a quick answer.
Cindy, I'll make a motion. We approve the contract extension for landfill investigation with TRC for $22,800.
I'll second it.
We got a motion and a second. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Emma,
Aye.
Todd Spade,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Crystal,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Seth,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Todd Kirking.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Mike.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mike. Item number
Yes.
one, discussion with possible action on fire station furniture purchase and project budget update.
Have that budget. Right. So we figured tonight we'd go over kind of where the budget for the fire station stands as we know it today. And then I also wanted to talk to you about the owner operator expenses. If you remember, we had $165,000 that were allocated for janitorial supplies, furniture, you know, that kind of stuff, miscellaneous items or whatever that were not in the contract with Keller. So been working with Nate on where we're at on pay requests, change orders, you know, everything that we know today, so that we can project and or plan accordingly as far as what else is left to be done. So do you want to kind of break down what you've got, or do you want me to?
So what you see on screen there is the project budget. I'll try to walk through it real quickly just so you know what we're dealing with columns. So number one here, this is the right down here, 9.178,99022 is sort of like the approved budget, right? That's the number we've always been working off of for the total project. Okay. Over the course of time through change orders, money gets moved around. So what happens, a change order will exist as a contingency. And then as Keller comes forward and said, hey, this is what we need it for, they move it out of contingency into the more appropriate place, which is typically construction costs, as well as professional services, which typically like some construction management costs, maybe architectural fees, things like that. So the approved budget, it's just been amended, still the same total amount, but just where things are at is a little bit different. This column here is what the actuals are that we've seen show up, whether in the form of a pay request or other invoices on our general ledger. This column here is what we expect to still, like, what is the balance to finish? And so this is what our column I here is what our project forecast is for everyone. And then this is what the variance is between the project forecast and the budget, essentially. So I to F. And so in a nutshell, based on the best possible, like where we're at right now and where we see things going, being fairly conservative with how much we're going to be spending, the best I can forecast, the best Chad and I can both forecast at this point is about $172,000 under budget. We anticipate that this number here, and this is kind of what Chad wants to talk about, is this right here assumes that he's going to spend the full 165. And I think part of what he's going to tell you tonight is that that's not his expectation, but again, this is sort of conservatively. So him and I always talk about this, like right now, our range is somewhere between $172,000 and $200,000 under budget is where this project is likely going to end up as. So the only other thing that's down here, and this is really just par for the course, is it just shows the project revenues, showing that we've received our township share already. So that came in last year in like July. We borrowed for this project last year as well. And then this USDA grant, so far we've received 4 million of the 5.25 million, and we expect that we will receive the full amount. This is kind of goofy, but any savings that we have, they'll essentially true up with us at the end of the year. Like we won't have something to show them. They're going to say, oh, okay, you're fully done with the pay request. So in order to make it right with you, we'll send you the rest of the money, right? It's just, I won't get into details on it, but it is one of those things where after the fact, we're going to have to just give them a little bit of documentation to get our full amount, but we are guaranteed the full amount so long as we finish the project and meet all other monitoring and compliance things. So the project from a financial standpoint is doing really, really well. So kudos to Chad, and I know Justin was really involved on it, and any members of that project team. I know Crystal was on it back in the day along with somebody else who I might be forgetting. I think Glenn was involved and things like that. So it seems to be going, and John as well, seems to be going really well. And from a budget aspect, I don't have too many concerns about it, but I don't know if that you want to pick up and
Thank you for that. So as Nate said, 172,000, I do believe that'll be quite a bit higher than that. Part of it has to do with that black dirt situation, if you remember again. We still got to work through that, and the intent is to sell what we can, and so there would be some revenue to bring back in from day one issue or whatever. So that partly that, and then Nate is correct. We do not intend on spending $165,000 as we've been going through this. It's looking fairly healthy. So, but with that being said, I kind of want to bring you up to date, I guess, on what we've spent out of that 165 and then what we're about ready to spend. It's some bigger numbers because it's mainly furniture. A couple times ago, you guys voted to go with Hendrickson for the main furniture vendor, and then the fire furniture store for some things for the day room, things like that. So that's what I want to kind of finish up with here. So to date, we've spent about $36,000 on items so far, and that includes like shelving, heavy duty shelving, some storage, cabinets, janitorial supplies, you know, lot of miscellaneous type things that way. A mailbox, you know, those kinds of things. So about $36,000 today. With the furniture piece.
Chad, does that include stuff out of the IT budget?
No. No, because you've got that separate up there, right? Okay. So those numbers are coming in almost exactly. The Opticom. So if you remember, we had some money allocated for an Opticom on the north end of town. That's that light changing thing for the fire trucks. That's coming in probably a little bit. I haven't had a chance to talk to Sarah on like labor piece of it and stuff for the electrician. But nope, yep, fair enough. So, but the equipment itself is under budget for what we'd planned, and I would suspect that it'll be right at or maybe just under with the other pieces. So, and then MCS, the IT piece that got we're getting kind of up there to where what we had budgeted for. There were some items that they had to bring in that weren't necessarily accounted for, or something that they preferred we do versus what had been planned in the budget or the bid. And then the other one was painting of the training tower. Due to timing and things like that, they aren't gonna be able to paint it until spring now. So getting closeouts and getting USDA satisfied and all that other stuff, we pulled it out of we're gonna pull it out of the contract with Keller and move it over to, you know, basically that 165,000 or whatever. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nate, as far as, is that close enough to explaining that part? Moving it, yep, okay. So yes, and that one's looking pretty healthy too. So we're really just back down to like furniture and the tangible type stuff. So with the furniture, again, these are the numbers that I think are important, because they are larger dollar amounts, and getting your guys' input and just at least making sure you're aware of it. So Hendrickson came back with some really nice furniture, a lot of options. It was like tables and chairs for training room, some day room stuff, some bedroom stuff, some office furniture, chairs, you know, all kinds of stuff. That price is hard to digest because they had option 1, option 2, and it was just one big lump sum, and that was like $144,000. But to be fair, again, there was a lot of doubles up, different options, things like that. So I started backing out, you know, things that we don't need, options that we weren't going to take, and so on and so forth. So right now, and again, I've got more work to do. This is more complicated than what I'd hoped it to be, but put together my best guess at this point. So from Hendrickson right now, I'm looking to spend just under $30,000. I'd like to go with the day room type stuff from Fire Furniture Store. Part of the reason why I'm leaning towards them is it's not so much that it's a lot better cost, but they have a lot better options as far as what we're looking for. Hendrickson has more like your professional type furniture. You go into a dentist or a, you know, whatever, and it's real stiff, you know, whatever. So prices are about the same, but options are better with the furniture store. So that price where I'm at today is $9,680. I don't know about shipping and things like that. So again, can't give you exacts, just trying to bring you up to speed and hopefully get your blessing to move forward. And then one thing that we're looking at too is our training room. We were considering replacing all the tables and chairs and things like that. The tables and chairs that we currently have aren't that old. To replace everything in that training room with the podium and the tables and chairs and some whiteboard and stuff like that was $42,000 for one room. And those of you that know me probably know what I thought when I saw that. I think it's actually a good price. It's good stuff, right? But I'm having a hard time spending $42,000 on one room when we already have okay furniture. So what I'm proposing is to back that off, to buy some more tables and chairs of what we currently have. And then obviously some Markham whiteboards and a podium enough to be added. And then we actually are looking at buying some folding tables and chairs for other events out in our bays, plastic stuff instead of renting all the time. And that price is like $6,000 for all of that stuff. So instead of 42,000, we can do it for like 6,000. So a lot of that stuff is from Amazon or, like Menards, things like that. And that's just over $5,000 that I'm looking to spend with them. So that's a total of, again, for furnishings beyond what I've done so far, that's $43,124. So that would put us at $79,518. Couple other items that we're looking at is maybe some a state flag and a department flag in the training room. So there'll be a few $100s for that. And then also window blinds. We didn't include that in the bid because it gets insanely priced. So I've started measuring, started pricing, and it looks like maybe around $3,000 to do 21 windows. So it's still $3,000, a lot of money, but for 21 windows, it's actually not too bad. So those two last things that I mentioned isn't in that 79,000, but it'd bring it, 85-ish, let's just say. So the balance yet out of that 165 would put it right around 80, 85. We're not done, but that's getting really, really close. Like, we're talking about maybe a floor scrubber. We're talking about, some tangible stuff, some rugs and, things like that in high traffic areas to protect the carpet. And, so there'll be some more, but we're sitting really, really good. Really good. So, Nate and I talked, we figured with these bigger dollar amounts getting close before, I spend 30 grand or whatever with Hendrickson, we wanted to get your guys' input and make sure I'm going down the right path and any approvals that you see fit.
Thanks, Jim.
Did we already have a bid for the painting of the tower?
We do. It's, I got it on
That's
here, I
gonna be
think.
good, even though it's gonna be next spring.
Yeah, I just looked it up again just to make sure I had the correct numbers for you, Nate. So it is, we'd budgeted 20,000, I think. Does that sound correct? And I gave you a number of around 15. It's 17,925 is the actual number. That does include that new tower that the fire department put up. So that's why it's a little bit higher than the number I'd given Nate originally. So the fire department spent 65-ish thousand to do that burn structure back there. We're hoping to have them paint that at the same time. So that painting does include that. So we could potentially back that off if the city saw fit or didn't want to include that.
And you said that is coming out of this budget here?
It's
This
listed
line
on
item?
my numbers
Yeah,
here, but
okay.
yes. But if you chose not to, it'd be 3,000 less, and that's where that 15 came in, Nate, when I pulled it up this afternoon.
I just updated it.
Look at that.
While you were looking that way, I was thinking. So Chad, the three numbers for today in terms of the furniture were Hendrickson, the fire furniture
station
store,
furniture, yeah.
and then there was like a handful of other items. So can you just
Amazon and Menards, yep.
what is the totality of the new purchases you're looking to make then?
So with just that furniture, those three companies is 43,124. Again, with the caveat that I may switch something over. There's some chairs that I might go to a little bit lower end for certain areas. So I feel like that number is on the good side or the high side, and it'll come down a little bit, but going through all those rooms and making sure that I have the right mark and whiteboard or whatever, there could be a couple $100 here and there back and forth, but I feel comfortable that I'm darn close.
Yeah, so this is in front of you because we were looking at the purchasing policy and it's a little, I struggled a little bit to figure out what exact scenario in the purchasing policy this fits into because it is a capital project. It's been budgeted for. Technically, if he's making a purchase over $20,000, that has to go above myself and what Chad and I can do, and it should go to committee, but due to timing, we said we don't have a public safety meeting coming up. Well, just take it right to council. Based on where he's at right now and the purchasing policy in general, what he's trying to spend, I would imagine authorizing him to spend up to $45,000 based on the numbers he's provided would be a good way to give him future flexibility to either, it sounds like subtract, but if he ends up in a spot where he can add, then he doesn't have to worry about coming back here and getting additional approvals. He doesn't really technically need them for the fire furniture store because it's a smaller amount, but just to be comprehensive and safe, I would suggest $45,000, and it's of course well within the budget.
It's a lot of money, and shipping too. Like I said, I don't even know what shipping is. They gave me some big numbers, but that was on if we bought everything from them, and there was install prices and all this other stuff that we wanted. So I've backed all that off for now. So again, I'm okay with 45,000. I'm not. I don't know. That's the kicker. The fire furniture store sometimes has free shipping, depending on what you buy at times of the year or times of the month or whatever deal they've got going. A lot of times Amazon is free shipping with the account we've got. But sometimes you get heavier items or bigger items and they charge you a little bit for shipping. So I don't have that exact answer, Nate.
Yeah,
because
if it's not in there, I'd be really concerned about selling ourselves short then, because I remember how much it costs for installation of the city hall equipment. So, at this point, what we could do is just say we have the budget for 165,000. If you wanted to say, like, at this point, it's budgeted, you have pre-approval to spend, obviously up to your budget. And if you want to double check, you can just say, hey, make sure that if you're doing anything really big, you get authorization from myself, Chad, and you could do whoever the new finance chair is. You can kind of put some of those safeguards in just to like a double check rather than having to come back again, because it is kind of a unique situation and doesn't fit nicely into the purchasing policy. And we're trying to make sure we're doing things right. Suggestion clear as mud,
Sounded good to me.
Okay.
just say yes. No.
Any other questions? If not, we can take a stab at that motion.
I just had one question. Like you talked about getting a floor scrubber. Are you guys maintaining the whole building, like cleaning wise? Or are you having a service come in?
Right now, the intent is to do the best we can on our own, like we have in the past. I have reached out to someone maybe helping us with windows once or twice a year. But aside from the day-to-day, the intent is to try and do it on our own. So until that becomes a problem, that's the plan. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else?
So you don't want to put an amount on this approval, but just.
Yeah, it's just so hard to know without him having actual installation and delivery numbers. That stuff can really rack up to the tune of like another 10,000 on top of it. So, if we want to just be done with it, and if you want to give trust into the staff to make sure that we're being frugal when we're looking at this, you could say, yeah, authorization to spend the $165,000 with a double check on major purchases by myself and the mayor and the finance chair if you really wanted to, right? That's just a way to just be over and done with it. If you didn't feel comfortable doing that, I would say 100,000 would probably be more than sufficient.
We got to
You
talk
can go.
faster. Yeah, whatever your wish is. My intent is probably to not have install, because a lot of this stuff is pretty basic, and firefighters are fairly resourceful and things like that. So, but to Nate's point, it's really hard to know. I don't even know what shipping will be. Things like that. So whatever your wishes.
I'll take a crack at it.
All right.
Ms. AJ, make a motion to approve the fire station furniture purchasing plan up to $100,000. Anything over that would be reviewed by Nate, Mayor, and the new finance chair.
John, I'd second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Todd Spath,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Crystal,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Seth,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Todd Kirking,
Aye.
Emma.
I,
Thank you. All right. Item number 12, payment of the bills.
AJ, make a motion to pay the bills.
Todd, I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions?
The only big thing to point out there is that there was that $1 million pay request for the fire station project. And I just wanted to make note that that has already been reimbursed by the USDA. So they've been really snappy about it, which is great. And we were able to avoid even to have to touch interim financing to pay for it in the short term. So that's back in our coffers. And then I think the only other thing that Joy pointed out was on page 5, perhaps, that there was a series of bills for street maintenance materials that got lost in the mail.
We just didn't receive them. They were sending it to old
Right.
emails, so we never got them.
So if you notice some ones dating back to June in there, the reason for that is they were being sent to Jody Olson and not Joy Conway. So
Oh.
why they didn't make it through forwarding in our email system, I don't know either, but I think that's the long and the short of what to point out in the bills.
Good. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Cindy,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Crystal,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Seth,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Todd Kirking,
Aye.
Emma,
I,
Todd Spath.
Aye.
All right. Item number 13 is a possible closed session per Wisconsin statute 1985 1E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business. Whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, this is regarding live action storage project. Go ahead.
So before anybody jumps to make a motion, I don't know how much of this will have to go into closed session for. This is to review a development agreement that was, an MOU was drafted. MOU we talked about in closed session, where we talked about the competitiveness of it and how much we liked it, things that were more closed session materials. This is basically translating it from an MOU into a development agreement. Typically at this stage, we just kind of walk through what that development agreement is, make sure you're all comfortable with the language that's used. And if we need to go into a closed session, like you want to debate something still, I'll kind of cue you and say, hey, that's kind of a closed session item. Let's move into it. But there's a fairly good chance here, I would suspect, that we actually don't need to go into closed session, if that makes sense to everybody.
Take it away.
So this was included to you last night. My apologies for the delay. I was doing some last minute finagling of the documents. This is for live action storage, which will be, if this goes through, located south of the Shade Haven building on Railroad Avenue. It was forwarded to you from the VDA. And I guess I'll start with the plan. The one item that was sort of new that the VDA had not seen and was a point of question was the landscaping plan. I'm sure most of you had spoken or had received an email from Mary Henry regarding her concerns over stormwater management, which are all very good concerns to have. Well, let me just pace myself here and we'll finish one thing and jump to that here. So here's the building site. Again, the building in question, some building plans, elevations, things like this. You would have all seen this when we went through the MOU. This package has been put together for quite some time. The additional item that was requested by the VDA ahead of this meeting was the landscaping plan. This was sent to you as well. As you can see on this map, there's not a lot of room for landscaping. It's a fairly tight map because it's a storage facility. Chad often puts in a nice amount of concrete in order to make sure that any truck or vehicle you bring in there will be on solid ground as they move around. Typically in this business park, we preferred concrete over gravel, simply because it looks nicer, but I do know there's another train of thought with having slightly more pervious surfaces, so I get that as well. What he has in there as trees are lindens and maples. I know there was some suggestions about having maybe some native grasses or other things to slow stormwater a bit, but it is important to note that the stormwater pond that the city would be building for the purposes not just Chad's property or potentially future property, but for that 18 acres as a whole. Okay, and in working with Veerbecker, they did size the pond based on assumptions of how much pervious surface would be per acre. And they felt that the stormwater pond was still more than adequate to receive the stormwater created from the runoff after these impervious surfaces went in. So that's the short of that. I don't know if anybody has any additional questions to that. I am not a civil engineer. I don't even know how much Sarah could share with us off the fly. She's more than welcome to jump up here and try. She would be our best in-house expert, of course. But I do think the stormwater concerns, especially for this property, have been met. And I do think that you're going to try to put in a decent amount of trees on the property to try to provide a nice visual screen from the roadway to make it look nice and not just have it be a big concrete sea. Lindens and maples are fairly large trees, one a little bit more wide canopy, a little bit more tall and thin. But I'm happy, if the council would like to have conversation on that. That was really the only item the VDA didn't really have a chance to weigh in on, nor did you guys talk about the landscaping plan during your MOU phase of this project. Okay.
This is Emma. I apologize if I missed something. I was just thinking about when they're doing the calculations and just how we have such erratic rain patterns here. So we've had a couple summers ago, it's really dry. And then, 2018, we had a flood. So it's just really hard to know. And so when we're making these calculations, I just want to have a sense of how do we define what normal is, especially when you have like 200-year floods in a 10-year period, So, because I moved here in 2007, there's a flood then. There's another one in there. 2018 was the last time I remember. So I just didn't know. I know you guys aren't experts, but it's just a thought here. And I'm not a city engineer, nor do I know the consequences of it either. All right, I'll try.
I only caught parts of that. I think the gist of it is like, just so that, are you asking like, what does it mean when the calculations are, yeah.
Yeah, what calculation are they using? Because we've had such erratic and sometimes more rain than we have anticipated.
Right.
In the last 20 years that I've lived here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Several
So,
times.
so we always default or are required by law to default to the DNR regulations, which are not just specifically for quantity of water, but also quality of water. If I remember correctly, it's a 1 in 20-year flood, 25-year flood that they're designed to hold. But then they also have to have a certain amount of retention time so that the sediment has an ability to settle. So there's sort of like two things happening there. And this is always the conversation is like, how big, what kind of storm do you build a stormwater retention pond for versus like the big, huge events like the 1 in 100-year flood, which we clearly experienced many times more than we should have. So I guess that is the essence of some of the things you could look at if we wanted to when we look at stormwater ordinance. I mean, we certainly as a city can decide to go above and beyond. A lot of communities change the size of where it triggers a requirement. Some of them, we may not be a bad candidate for because we are at the top of the watershed, could have a higher storm frequency sizing. But I think the DNR sets a pretty solid bar about what is necessary. And I think this is always the question when it comes to development, right? Is stormwater management takes space no matter what you do. I mean, you can certainly make some decisions about like permeable pavements, but those are challenging. I mean, you look at the food co-op. They tried really hard with their asphalt, permeable asphalt, and they're constantly having problems with it. So when they look at the stormwater pond sizing, obviously we're anticipating the mitigation for this is in the pond. Like the landscaping plan itself didn't change Matt's calculations at all. Yeah, happy to answer more questions, but
Who did you say was having trouble with the permeable surface?
the food co-op,
Oh.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, it didn't go quite as well as they were hoping, but
Why not require more trees? You just surround it with trees. I mean, trees soak up a lot of water.
well, and here is that challenge of like, when you are looking at the stormwater calculations, like a good example would be when we looked at Silverthorne, right? They had the bioswale concept, and that is a best management practice for stormwater management, but there are very specific sizing and how much benefit it goes to the grand overall calculation ends up being pretty small. So I would say the principle of the idea of having better storm management practices may not go into a direct calculation of what we're looking for when we're trying to look at DNR regulations. So I mean, it could be more on principle and aesthetic versus it's not going to make a significant change in the calculation of the pond size or whether or not we're meeting requirements. So
They will soak up more water.
Yeah, I think what Sarah's saying is whether how significant an impact is probably.
100-year flood, it probably would.
well, and then it also depends on like how that water is getting to those trees so that they could do their job too, right? So, like you'll see in communities that are really worried about stormwater management, a lot of them have those like lowered areas next to parking lots and stuff, and then they put the bioswales in them so they give the plants a chance to take up the water. I mean, it certainly would do something, but it would be interesting to see how much water actually would be picked up by the trees and to just put them around the outside of the area unless they were in an area that could absorb the surface water into the soil in order for the trees to use them, you know? It's an interesting topic. Stormwater management is tricky, and it's also something that we certainly should think about.
I don't know how they did it, but the Hillsborough Hospital, they have a storm pond and it's so beautiful. I mean, there's all these natives in it, there's birds, there's butterflies, and what I was told is it just happened naturally, but it actually looks a little bit like a garden, but it's a storm pond. So
Where's that one?
in Hillsborough
Oh, sure.
by the
yeah.
hospital. So I was a little surprised by that because I thought it was created that way on purpose, and it just, anyway, so it can also be aesthetic is what I've learned as well.
Absolutely. Well, that's the concept with the Hanson Farm stormwater pond and why we have a path around it is to have a dual purpose stormwater pond. Yeah. In this scenario, the way they've set it up on Railroad Avenue, it's definitely more utilitarian, but they're utilizing the natural topography and having the pond in the low area. So it honestly does make a lot of sense in this scenario to not take up sort of the better land for stormwater pond management and using that back pond where it's a low area that is really hard to develop and doesn't have sewer access, for example, for stormwater management.
And again, like you said, there's not a lot of room for trees and his buildings are, the existing ones are really nice looking too, so. I think this would be fine.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are more than welcome. I haven't really had any sort of back and forth with him on this landscaping plan. I just asked for the plan to be available when we were making the decision on the development agreement. So if you'd like to push back on anything as a group, you're more than welcome to vote that way. But this is essentially what's presented, and thank you to Sarah for doing a nice little primer on stormwater management. If you'd like, we can hash this out now, or we can look at the rest of the deal and bring this back up at the end, I'm fine with however you want to play this right now.
For me, it's just more of a question. I don't have the answer. I'm not the expert on it. So I think with, as far as what Sarah's saying, as far as do other cities do things differently beyond what the DNR does? I can't weigh in on that from an expert level, but if it's worth a conversation, I think it's just a good thing to address when it comes up, you know, it doesn't have to be necessarily pushed ahead, but have we done due diligence in terms of what our city has seen in the last 20 years? That's really, I want to be objective about that. Because I think that was part of the surprise was how frequently it was happening in terms and that there were, and I just we're sort of fortunate in Viroqua because we're a little bit on a hill in general. So that as well, but you know, low valley towns are in a different situation.
This is on the, pretty much the very outskirts of the city limits.
Correct. Yep.
So as far as being an aesthetic pond or anything like that, you know, it's not gonna be built around, I don't think, is it? Everything that's gonna be built would be on the west side of that pond. Is that kind of,
Right. I don't know as though I've seen what the final engineer drawings of that. Well, maybe we have because
don't
they're in
think
that
about-
thing, but from an aesthetic standpoint, I think Sarah said it's more utilitarian
Right.
than it is aesthetic.
yeah,
And we'll
it's not a centerpiece of the city, it's just.
and
a-
we'll own that outlot. So
Right.
we'll have
Yep.
control over that outlot of the stormwater pond.
Yep.
Where we're at today is what do we feel comfortable at with the property that will be turned over to Chad in terms of like their landscaping plan? And that was specifically what the VDA brought up is like, there needs to be more native grasses and, you know, well, at least one member of the VDA brought that up and everybody else, like Emma said, well, we're not experts on stormwater. We can ask questions and in talking with Sarah and Beerbecker, the pond is sized appropriately
Yeah.
for this. It meets or exceeds DNR standards on it. What you want to do, what you want to ask Chad to do after that is kind of what's on the table right now.
Just as an aside, because I thought, I did meet with the land conservationist and we talked about him coming and talking about stormwater management in the watershed, and what Emma said is right on. I mean, we definitely are on the top of the watershed, so we don't necessarily understand like as much of the stormwater impacts as some of our neighbors do. And we definitely have the ability to put in a stormwater ordinance, but we don't have one right now.
Thank you.
So this is the plan that Chad,
This is, yeah, the
Or-
landscaping plan specifically is what.
that
we're
is what
looking-
he came up with, or his architect?
Yep,
Okay.
that's what Darren submitted on his.
Yeah.
behalf.
So you want specific action on the landscaping plan, or do you want to
Well,
continue through?
no,
the-
my whole thing was to you is if you guys, we can either talk about it now, or I can go through the rest of the development agreement, talk about that, and then you guys can make a final decision on what you want to think, all things considered. I just
Let's
didn't
do
want to
that.
like move on if the conversation here wasn't done.
Yeah, I'd go through it all and then we can talk
Okay.
about it all in its whole.
Oh, I will do that then. So here is the development agreement. And again, you've seen this before in MOU form. And so this really just tightens it up. I've reviewed it. James has reviewed it, who is our sort of consultant on economic development matters. And George Hopkins has reviewed it as well. He had what you see in red is some of his minor typo corrections. And so the deal in a wide swath is we sell the acreage. He's going to do the 4 buildings in this order. This is how much new tax base is going to be created at minimum per year. Annual guaranteed tax increment. This is important because this is what helps us pay for the stormwater pond behind it. Important to note here that the developer agrees to obtain all necessary permits and that they're responsible for the permit fees. We did have a conversation with Chief Burrows and Sarah about some of the offsets, especially on the Railroad Avenue side. And there was a little bit of a confusion there because of some vagueness in the language. But they are going to have to work with Chad on how close that parking lot is to the road right away versus the curb of the road. I think it's a minor detail. Chad had a good conversation with Darren Byer, who's the engineer. He didn't seem too thrown off by it and could sort of work through it a little bit, but do note that whenever we do development agreements, we're not necessarily saying this is your permit to do that project. That's a separate process that they still have to go through, especially when it comes to commercial buildings. They still have, like, we can't vouch for what the state will do. If it does indeed need state approved plans. 7 just goes into the fact that as part of this, they have submitted their site plans, building plans, and landscaping plans and will be held to those. In terms of stormwater, or number 8's important. And again, we talked about this before, is that they have to create tax base sufficient to provide the guaranteed tax increment we need. And so therefore, they can challenge their tax assessment just like anybody else can, but they can't challenge it to the degree that they're still not required to pay the guaranteed tax increment. And we talked about that a little bit the last time around, so that's in there again. Everything else after that talks about the stormwater requirements and that they have to create a temporary sediment pond while we're in the process of building our item, and they're well aware of that. Here is an important point. The developer will be allowed to retain any excess topsoil. Going forward, it should be the practice of the city that we retain topsoil on a property. Okay? It's always negotiable, right? So if the developer's like, oh, this is really what's going to make the deal work for me is if I get that topsoil, sure. But it should be our stance, our initial stance that we always keep topsoil because it's of value to us. And we've done it in the past. Right now, the reason that it's in there as they get to keep this topsoil is because, one, we kind of find ourselves in an okay position with topsoil, our quantities right now, and the fact that we essentially bargained through this without addressing it. So we got a little late in the day to actually reverse course and kind of pull the rug out from underneath them. And that's so for those reasons, the bargaining team felt it was appropriate to say, like, you know what, on this acreage, keep topsoil, but we sent the message going forward. It shouldn't be assumed that that's going to happen. And everything else, I don't want to go through this if you feel like we went to again, 3 of the 5 businesses in that one, or 3 of the 5 units in that one building do have to be businesses. We want to make sure we did write that language into the lease agreement that it won't be used for residency. Sorry, let me rephrase that. We wrote into the development agreement that Chad will write it into the lease agreements that nobody will use it for residence or will use it for overnight occupancy. So we're going to hold them to that. And that's just a reinforcement of zoning regulations, right? This just goes into selling it, and it can't be tax exempt. Utility extensions are his responsibility. And then it does talk about the early occupancy agreement, which was one of the exhibits. In response, really what the city is doing is selling the property, providing the stormwater, and allowing them to retain the topsoil, providing the early occupancy agreement. Is basically just we're on the other end of what they've agreed to up top. And so there is no TIF assistance on this project. The TIF assistance is essentially in the form of stormwater. Okay. And then after that, it just goes into the security provisions, insurance is required, right? And then the irrevocable letter of credit. Again, this is important for this project because we're depending on that increment, that annual increment to pay our debt service on this. So this is the most guaranteed thing you could ask for, is a bank saying that if he fails to do any of this, you have a letter from us that will pay for it, right? And so that will be required. The one thing I did note on here is that it says no later than July 31st, 2026. I need to confirm that wasn't a typo error and that James really didn't intend to do that based on his conversation. Why it's 8 months from now, it just seems somewhat arbitrary, but I'll have to look into that. So that would be the only thing that I would say is still a question mark. And if you're okay with me making the call on when that is due, I think the rest of the document is fully formed and probably ready to go. Any questions on that? Okay. Finally, the early occupancy agreement essentially states that he will have access. We've signed this with Chad before. It just essentially states he'll have access to the property on October 15th. and that he can start moving dirt around before he owns the property, because it's going to take us a while to do a CSM to close on the property and all those other things, and he wants to get moving in order to get on schedule. So I've talked to the farmer and delivered him a 30-day notice saying this property is going to be taken away with him. He's fine with waiving the full 30 days, and he's just asking us for, if he can't get his soybean crop off, asking for us to treat him fair on basically compensating him for that, which we've done before. We typically go to the Farm Service Agency and say, this is the crop that's on there. It's 1.79 acres. What's a reasonable price to pay him for this? And that way they can kind of make the call. The crop's not exactly in the best shape, and so it shouldn't be a huge dollar amount. But we'll kind of walk through that process. And again, Joe Clark's always been just really easy to work with. He's been our farmer on quite a few acres of our property for a while now, and he's just an easygoing type of guy who tries to be very collaborative with the city, which is really nice. So I'm happy to go through anything in more detail, but that's sort of the nuts and bolts of it at this point.
Thanks, Nate. Questions?
I do need to add, looks like 2 more exhibit pages. We need an exhibit B and exhibit C for the 2 other exhibits, but other than that, we're solid.
So if there's no real question, you're looking right now for feedback, or we could approve.
Correct.
The development agreement, move forward. Cindy.
I'd just like to say a little bit more about the stormwater, because just because we're at the top of the hill, I mean, we deeply affect what happens around us with the 2 watersheds that Mary Henry mentioned, the Bad Axe, which is what covers most of our town, and then the West Fork Kickapoo River watershed. What happens on the west side of town like I said, it was east of Main Street, if you looked at that map. It ends up eventually in Sidey Hollow Lake. All the stuff that we have in our lawns and that go down the gutter and the stormwater ends up in Sidey Hollow Lake. So we need to, if you want to correct a problem, you have to correct it where it starts. And one of the places it starts is at the high points, which is us. I think that everything that's done, developments, we really need to think about stormwater, because it directly affects some people in town now that have a lot of stormwater running through their property. But it affects, like I said, eventually Sidey Hollow Lake. So, and a lot of people want to go there and use it for recreation, and it's a mess, as you know. There used to be a beach. There used to, in the boats, it's a mess, and we're part of the problem. So I just ask that we please keep in mind that stormwater is a big deal, whether it's rain events or not, it's a problem. But especially when we have 2007, 2008, 2018, have these torrential rains. So anyway, that's my piece. So we definitely need a stormwater ordinance.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else in regards to this development agreement? Not, we'd certainly entertain a motion.
This is Todd. I make a motion to accept the development agreement
This is
with live
Krista.
action,
I'll second.
with live action storage, and including the landscaping agreement. Or landscaping plan, I should say.
Yeah. Got a motion and a second.
The only thing I would note is if you can give me some flexibility on the delivery date of the irrevocable letter of credit, since that's just the major question mark right now.
Amend my motion to say that you to give him flexibility on, what was that again? The
delivery date on the irrevocable letter of credit.
okay, the delivery date on the irrevocable letter of credit then.
I'm okay with that.
All right.
That was the one that was dated
Like
July
of
something. Oh, okay.
26.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Any other discussion? Does that need to be a roll call? I don't think so. We'll do a roll call. We've done them on every other thing today.
Okay, John,
Aye.
Crystal,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Seth,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Todd Kirking,
Aye.
Emma,
Aye.
Todd Spade,
Aye.
Cindy.
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody. And now we're to the part of the meeting where the folks in the audience have been so patiently waiting for, I would assume. So, I would like to, so item number 15 is appointment of committee member assignments and budget team replacement for Crystal Welter, which we'll address the next agenda item. Unfortunately, Crystal is leaving the council. So with the appointment of the committee members, so let me back up. So that vacates her committees, and the two committees that we're wanting to get addressed right away are both our finance and public safety. So what I would like to do and what I would ask is that you let me appoint Todd as the chairman of finance. I've talked to Todd and he's in agreement with that. And I'd like to appoint AJ to the public safety committee. So that is what's that? We do. We need a motion and a second to approve my appointments.
This is Emma, and I make a motion to approve the appointments that Justin has recommended.
Todd will second it.
All right, we got a motion, a second. Any other discussion?
Yeah, can we wait till we find out who's replacing Crystal?
Those two particular, well, specifically finance committee, I think I can assure you that whoever's appointed, I wouldn't have them start as the chair of finance. So I'd rather not wait on those. I think there's some other things that we are waiting till the appointment happens, but these particular two, I would like to appoint tonight. So, do we get a motion in a second? Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item number 16 is the acceptance of resignation of Alderperson Crystal Welter from Ward 8.
Oh, you might need to back up.
Did I?
Budget team.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Appointment of committee member assigned. Oh, budget team.
You just didn't say anything
I
about it.
just didn't say anything. So I had asked Todd as the new appointed chair of finance to fill that position because it's always been a finance member that has been on that. And I know, Todd, you had some potential conflicts. Okay. So Todd is willing to fill that void again, which is a very important time sensitive thing. So I would ask that you allow me to appoint him to that committee. So we'll do a motion in a second.
Yes, Steve, I say we accept Todd's appointment to the budget team.
This is Seth, a second.
All right. Thank you. All I've got a motion in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I don't know what is going on with me tonight. I can't seem to hold it together. Item number 16, acceptance of resignation of Alderperson Crystal Welter, Ward 8. Before we talk about that, I just would like to say something. It has been a complete and absolute honor working with Crystal. And I think the time she was here before I was here, and she's helped me along the way, learn things. She's been just a tremendous asset. The help she gave to the fire department through the building process was exceptional. Every committee she's been part of has been better because of her on it. And I think the community as a whole, I know for a fact that the community as a whole is a better place because of the time you gave the city of Baroqua. So thank you so much for what you've done.
I would just like to double down on that on behalf of the staff.
Sure.
The number of things that we can count on Crystal to volunteer for is just incredible, right? And she is among like the most reliable people whenever we have, I won't call it a dirt.
Except for tonight.
Well, you can, yeah, it's okay. It's apropos, right? I'm looking at Sarah back there, and it's like bringing her in on the fire station. That was a huge time commitment. Bringing her in when we need somebody to sit on some hiring decisions and interviewing, those are hours and hours on end. The budget team is, as anybody who served on the budget team know, that's hours on end. And so like the number of things like, hey, who can we get to do this? Usually the first name is Crystal Welter. So I just want to thank you because that really makes our job so much easier. She's so easy to work with. And as everybody sees, can I touch the notes? Like she's not without being always very diligent and thoughtful in everything that she does. So thank you, Crystal, on behalf of the staff.
Not that I need to be the last as a mention on this, but I'm obviously the most recent to this committee and this council, and just watching and listening to everything that you've involved yourself with on those committees. You're an exemplary example of what a person should be to their community. And thank you for being an example, and we're going to miss you.
Yes. For sure. So anybody else has anything to add, they're certainly welcome to. Otherwise, unfortunately, we need a motion to accept the resignation of Crystal. Well, fortunate for you, unfortunate for us. So.
Yeah, that's right.
You'll have to take that up with Crystal, but yes.
Yeah, Crystal, thank you for everything. I'm gonna make the motion that we do accept your resignation.
This is Todd. I regretfully second the motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any other thing? No? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thanks again, Crystal. With that, we'll move on to item number 17, which is second period for.
Oh, she's gonna go up there.
So not on the council.
It's not on the agenda.
Oh. It is.
Then I will.
Well, serving the city and the residents as alderperson for Ward 8, it's really been a great pleasure. Sorry. Together, we've been able to accomplish great things for the city. It has been an education in the art of small town living for me. And also it was a way for me to use the skills and abilities that I had to make this a better place. So I want to thank the residents for supporting me in that. And thank all of you. I've enjoyed working with every last one of you. Thank you.
And I will speak on behalf of your constituents, Crystal, how much we're going to miss you. It's not lost on us, the hard work that you've done for both the Ward 8 and the city. And not only are you skilled, smart, hardworking, but you're also kind and generous. And personally, I'm losing not just my alderperson, but also a neighbor and a friend. So good luck. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for your service and dedication to the city.
Thank you, Tanya. To Nate's point, just to point out what the process will look like going forward, we've never really had a real good formal process on how we deal with reappointments. And we talked to Crystal and told her kind of what the plan was. So, and what we're going to do is we're going to post it just so nobody knew tonight, maybe some people did, that this was even going to be an option. So Nate has put together a really nice kind of a statement stating what's happening, what we're looking for, what we want, how, if you're interested to express that, put a timeline on it so we can get this filled fairly promptly.
Will you put that on the website then?
Right. It'll go on our website, Facebook. Trina, I'm sure will share it. I would assume Tim will share the news, which maybe share that because I think we do want to get this filled fairly quickly. So.
Yeah. So just for everyone's information, that will go out tomorrow. Again, I put together a one sheet just saying this is what's required. I need to just double check some of the language, but it will go out tomorrow. And sort of the due date for somebody to respond with a letter of interest will be the 15th of October with an expectation that the mayor has a candidate that he would like to appoint available for the council to review it and hopefully act on it by the 30th. So the seat will be vacant for a month, which is, I think, part of the reason why the mayor wanted a few seats sat now, and then gives us more time to review several options of people who may not have expressed interest, but would like to take a stab at public service. So.
Yeah. So that's the process. Any questions? All right. Item number 17, second period for public comment. Any members of the public have anything they wish to bring up? Seeing none in-house, is there anybody online?
Yeah, if anybody online would like to make a public comment, they can do so at this time. We have quite a few people online still with us.
Hearing none, I would take a motion to adjourn.
This is Crystal and I move that we adjourn.
I don't think it is.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody. 6 years, not bad. 6 years. It's almost to the
I won the
Is that your first win?
Well, he said 808, 810. A little extra.
Sure. It's funny because usually tries to prod it along.
742, I thought, man, he's gonna be right on this.
Right.
And I wanted him to win because I didn't.
Right. No kidding.
So, yeah, so now I